Hey, great day, everybody. So, are you interested in building your dream life or are you obsessed with it? And so, there is a huge difference. And interested people, when you think about it, they wish, they stay in thinking mode, and they just stay stuck. However, on the opposite side, the other individual is obsessed. And obsessed people, they act, they create systems, and most importantly, they move forward even when it is uncomfortable. And so, in today's episode, we are going to get down to the nitty gritty in terms of interested versus obsessed. And we are going to talk about the path to overflow. So, today is going to be I'm going to say a fun and also deep topic. And what I mean by deep is typically when you go wide, more like horizontal, is I may list out 7 strategies and then I'll go deep on those 7 strategies, more like a workshop or like a boot camp that we typically have online. But when we go deep, we take one concept and then we drive deep as much as we can in one episode. And I would like y'all to chat back to me if you are listening to this on YouTube or the audio podcast. If you are listening to this on YouTube, clearly you can comment below this video. If you're listening to this in the audio podcast, then you can hop over to YouTube and or go over to the gram and DM me your takeaway. All right. So what I'm going to be doing as we go deep in this topic is I'm going to be tying in things from business experience, motherhood experience, just things also outside of business of when there were times when being interested came up for me and that kept me stuck versus times where I became very obsessed and that moved me into overflow. So first, let's define overflow. So by book definition, it's the state where anxiety doesn't run your business or your life or your career. And your systems actually buy back your time, meaning systems that you have in play. Now, I'm going to incorporate Dan Martell's Buy Back Your Time book. I'll make sure to link up my Amazon store in the show notes. And what he talks about in his book is Buy Back Your Time is a framework for creating freedom, not just money. Because sometimes we can get so pigeonholed in making more money that we forget that there should be systems, especially if something is repeatable, in our life, in our home, and in our business so that we can actually get the result that we're thriving for, right? Which is time, location, freedom, money, freedom, and all those kinds of things. And so let's talk about how to move from a state of you being interested in something to you being obsessed with something and why obsession, when it is healthy and is focused, actually creates overflow. So I'm going to be pulling in 7 key takeaways that will drive deep from the Buy Back Your Time. This is a book that I have read, listened to about 2 to 3 times at this point within the last 12 months. And I want to interweave with a little story time, the takeaways from the book. And of course, if you want to roll along with me, then, take notes. So number 1 is don't copy content, copy consistency. And so how I broke this down is you want to model those who have scaled their life, toward their dream board or their vision board, have scaled their business or grew their business ethically. And it aligns with your values. And so how I see this play out is, I've had a variety of different mentors, but one of the things that I've recognized about what all of my mentors have in common is that they show up on a consistent level in terms of this is who I am in a very authentic way. People will accept me for who I am. I have a gift to share, but most importantly, I enjoy my life. And that is typically how I get attracted to mentors beyond the information that they're sharing, because I don't want just a mentor to focus on hustle, make money, because if they're not actually living out the life that I desire to live out, then to me, they're truly not a mentor. So ask yourself, who's done what you want to do at least 10 times bigger? So you can look at all different parts of your life. You can look at relationships, like personal ones, friendships. You can look at romantic relationships, marriages. You don't have to just have mentors in business. I believe that you should have a variety of mentors based off the different seasons in your life. You can look at parentalships. If you are doing co-parenting and you're no longer with the person, what other people are doing co-parenting the way that you would like to do, co-parenting? How many people are running their business and living out the life desires that you have on your vision board? So you want to look beyond the strategies, the list of things that they teach you. And of course, they have to be willing to share this information, but that's the power of social media, is look at everything in combination. But that also means that you have to be very clear about what you want. Number two is you cannot scale chaos. Okay. So I fully align with this, and I have suffered from some serious anxiety that has led to panic attacks and all the things. And so when you think about anxiety, it thrives in disorder. And you think about the definition of anxiety, anxiety comes up because you feel like there is no order. Okay. So systems actually will give you peace. And when you're peaceful, you can actually call in more profit. So when you think about it from a business perspective and a personal life perspective, I want you to ask yourself, when was the last time you felt like you had no anxiety, you were at a state of peace, and then you might have thought it was miraculous, but all of a sudden when you were at a state of peace and you were in order, you attracted more profit. So I started recognizing this because I've had this in different seasons of my life, whether it be a job, whether it be, grad school. So if I look at graduate school, I saw the most peace and profit when it came down to me finishing my dissertation. I was not the one to play with the process. I wanted to finish as much as possible before I moved back down to LA from the Bay Area in California in my dissertation process, because I knew that I would not ideally be going back and forth up there a lot. And so I wanted to make sure that I was on track. So to me, I'm going to take full responsibility of making myself a checklist, because that helps me keep things in order. That's a system. And my checklist aligned with a calendar with deadlines. So I'm not playing around with procrastination. I'm not playing around with letting my chair tell me when something is due. Instead, I'm going to have a conversation with my chair and say, when do I want to finish? And this is how I run my business. Based off the goal of when I want to accomplish that goal by, I will then reverse engineer, what steps do I need to do by certain dates? That's what I teach our clients how to do in their business for a launch, for a private practice, for making more money, and all the things. So this system of reverse engineering has worked in grad school. It has worked in, I want 10 clients at my private practice. It has worked in, I want to launch this particular digital product. In my personal life, I want to be able to clear out debt. By this point, I really want to, be married. I really want to, have a child. And those are the things that when I set those out, I needed to personally take control over what I knew I had control over. So sometimes what causes anxiety is that you're trying to create something that's out of your control, and that creates more chaos. Okay. So systems. From the book, Buy Back Your Time, he has an acronym for system. It stands for Save Yourself Time, Energy, and Money. Save yourself time, energy, and money. And so I'm going to get into this later, but you also want to be thinking about what are some of the things that you could create a system for in your life every single day. So is it going to the gym every day at 6:00? Okay. Number 3, automate and delegate. So this is kind of building off of number 2. If you do something more than twice, it needs to have a system. It can be a system with reminders on your phone. It can be systems in your business. It can be, that's why project management systems exist. And you also need to know what your threshold is. So I understand that when you first start business, or if you're going through a rough season, you need to watch your finances. But unless you're going to train yourself how to look at a checklist every day that has nothing to remind you that something is due, you need to set up reminders. And if you don't want to put them on your Google Calendar, then you probably need to invest in a project management system, because project management systems can be on alert to send you an email when something is due. Or if you log into the system every day and you click on, like we use Monday, if we click on it, it'll tell us What is my work that's due today? What is overdue? What is coming up for the rest of the week? And so you have to know how you thrive. And sometimes we force ourselves because of maybe finances to try to remember everything in our head. And let me ask you, how has that served you on both ends, personal life and business? Because your brain can only hold so much. So when you think about automation and delegation in terms of attracting wealth, attracting the lifestyle, the time freedom, and money that you want, wealthy people avoid repetitive tasks. This is also why they delegate things out to people and or systems. Broke people cling to repetitive tasks like, I can just do it myself. It'll be faster because it only takes me 5 minutes. Well, 5 minutes multiple times actually equals way more than in terms of energy than you delegate it out to someone who actually loves to do the job, that you can pay a fraction of the price of how much you charge for your hourly rate. So it also boils down to mindset. Are you looking at, delegating it or automating it out as an expense or an investment? And granted, on your, the profit and loss statement, it might show up as an expense. But if you're investing in someone or a system to train it to produce at a faster and more efficient manner or rate, what you really probably don't want to do anyway, or that you're not good at, or that you have no business doing because you need to go make some money in other places. If you don't want to do that, you actually have a broke mentality. Whether you like it or not, whether you make money or not, you have a broke scarcity and lack mentality. So what are some of the things that you do more than once that needs to be automated and or delegated? Okay. Number 4 is language matters. So does your language manifest failure? So something you really want to get good at is replacing phrases like I don't have with I don't have it yet. Now I'm going to combine this with an investment. So let's just say my very first investment actually in business coaching, I went to a marketing boot camp and their mastermind was, I think at the time, $5,000. And the first time I went to the event, I knew that I wanted in. And it's interesting, I had the $5,000, but I didn't really sit down and tie in when I invest this $5,000, what's going to be my ROI on the back end. I was just focused on spending the money, not this is going to at least 10x the money within the time that I'm in the mastermind based off what I'm able to do because of what I already learned going to the event. So when I went to the second event and they said, what the investment is, I started shifting my mindset and I was able to invest because my mindset says now, not that I don't have the money, where can I go find the money? So start reframing the way that you do self-talk and start shifting from limitation to possibility. Okay. If there's something that you want, if there's something that you see, whether it is an item, whether it is a vacation, an experience, a mentorship, school, if you know deep inside that it's meant for you and you know what that feeling is, and you then start teeter-tottering on all of these reasons as to why you can't get it or shouldn't have it, I want you just to flip the script, reframe that self-talk, and instead of talking about the limits, talk about what would happen if. Play the game. What would happen if I was able to get into X? What would happen if I go to this event? What would happen if I actually invested in this program and I did the work? Okay. Number 5, be obsessed and not interested. So remember, interested people stay stuck. Obsessed people push through discomfort. Obsessed people push through misunderstanding. They push through even constructive feedback and, more importantly, criticism. So when somebody's building either another version of themselves or another brand in their business, they're technically evolving, and your evolution is proof of you being obsessed with the next version of you. So I'm going to give you some background. Okay. And if you've been, part of the podcast family for a while, then this is a culmination of maybe some of the things that you've heard broken down into smaller episodes. And so I remember when I launched a particular stream of income, and it's a stream of income that is still present to today, I became obsessed. So this is what obsessed looked like. I knew that I wanted to help mental health providers in private practice. Every time somebody asked me a question about private practice, I could not shut up. When I was at home in my free time, that became my 5 to 9 after my 9 to 5. If I was working overtime, I couldn't get it out of my head. It was just like always there. So I knew something was there, but I didn't have any mentorship at the time. So I, would buy books even when I was in grad school. I knew that I wanted to have a private practice. But as I started building my private practice and really getting good at it and people noticing that my practices is growing, even when I'm working super overtime, 60 hours a week, plus teaching at 3 different schools throughout the year, I was still obsessed with growing a private practice, then growing it into a group practice, making a lot of learning experiences, AKA mistakes, but I kept going and I was always trying to figure it out. I get fixated on trying to figure it out until I figure it out. Okay. And so I realized that I was obsessed when things were going wrong and I kept going. I didn't throw in the towel and say, oh, I tried to launch it this way, it didn't work. I tried to launch it this way, it didn't work. And this is now the course and the coaching program that you know of today, maybe called Dope Therapist Academy, Manifest a Profitable Private Practice. That program was in motion about 3 to 4 years before it hit the marketplace in 2019. So what I mean by that is I was doing consultations with therapists around what do they want in a private practice. I was doing telephone interviews for the program. I was doing applications for the program. I was doing Zoom sessions, consultations for the program. I was doing Facebook Lives for the program. I was doing Periscope for the program. And then when Instagram Live came out, it was over. Okay. So over the years of me then going from, thoughts and obsessions to building out systems with no clients to getting one-on-one clients and actually seeing them thrive in practice, I knew that I was onto something. And then over time, I recognized that I was repeating myself to every single client and I was giving everybody different course portals with the same information, but in different orders. And I thought to myself, there has to be a way that I can automate this. So I believe that when you're seeking an answer, the teacher will appear. You just have to say yes. And right after my son was born, literally 6 months later, I came across a program that teaches you actually how to build out an online course. And, before this, I had already had 2 mentors just about business growth and all those things like systems, but more so marketing and branding. So I got into this program and it taught me step by step of how to launch a course and build out the actual course shell that works for a group of people. So I ran with that program for maybe a year and a half. And then I felt like something was missing. So I got turned on to this other program because I'm not afraid to invest in myself. And the first program was 2000, the one I just referenced with the course. The second one was also 2000, but that person included Lego instructions for all types of digital products beyond a course. And so I thought to myself, I think this is the missing piece because this first program helped me build out a course for a group of people and it talked about marketing, but this other program really helps me align with who I am. It talks about content strategy, all the things. And what I loved is that projecting in the future, it allowed me to see that I could actually launch in different ways. So it gave me diversification. So I'm like, bet. So I joined that program, game over. So with the first program, I launched the first version of DTA in 2019. After I joined this second program, another $2,000, it helped me launch the DTA program in 2020 7 times, 3 different ways. Boot camp, which is a multi-day event. Webinar, which is a one-time masterclass up to 90 minutes. And Evergreen, which is I record a webinar, a video, upload it to a system, set it up with email marketing, have all of my sales pages ready to go, and then I push a button and I watch people, and I also use Facebook ads. I watch people from Facebook ads and organic content and my email list and my podcast, click the link, watch the video, and within 3 weeks, I had 7 signups. Now, I didn't realize at the time that that was good because I was so used to like 12 people coming at a time, 9 people coming at a time. So I didn't realize that having 7 people buy a product and I didn't have to be there was like extra phenomenal conversion rates. Okay. And so what did I do? Because that was more of interest to me, I didn't really understand it, I shut it down. And I just kept doing what's called live launches, meaning I show up and do something. But again, I became obsessed. So between 2020 and now 2025, I've launched DTA well over 40 times. Some cohorts maybe have been 30 people. Some cohorts may have been 3 to 6 people. But I was trying different ways based off of also my life seasons, time, and energy, how I wanted to show up in the marketplace. I'm explaining all of this to you because there was no rule book in terms of how I'm supposed to launch my product. The only way I'm going to know if something feels aligned is if I actually do it. And there were seasons where I was doing webinars in the last 2 years, and I realized that wasn't hitting home, at least for the clientele at that time. Now, for some people, it was fine. But for most, it seems like I needed to spend, whether it was me showing up live, and I'll get to that in a moment, or a replay, most people needed multiple touch points to feel connected and consume the information. Now, one of the things I'm learning in this season, in the last 2 years, is that a lot of people don't actually come to the live sessions. And they actually watch the replay, probably because of time zone difference, availability. Some people are at a job. Some people are seeing clients. I get it. But that has also given me the permission to be obsessed again and say, maybe I need to start looking into another way in certain seasons of offering this program. Maybe I need to go back to evergreen. Maybe, everybody watching it in their own time anyway. So why not? But I'm giving you all of these different examples based off of just one stream. We can spend hours, days talking about all my streams of income that I've launched and different ways that I've done it because I've become obsessed with the process and been okay with being misunderstood by some people, feeling uncomfortable, being criticized, being given negative feedback. We got trolls online. I can go on and on, but that's not what we're here for. I realize even in today's era that I am evolving. So I have anxiety right now in this moment in 2025, third quarter, because I know that I am in a season, and I've been in a season for about 18 months, y'all. I'm in a season where I'm evolving. And if I could be, more transparent, I've been scared to leap over to the other side. And I may have even done podcasts around what my thoughts were in terms of evolving, expanding, doing certain things on YouTube, certain things in my community. I've rolled back programs. I've reopened programs. I have minimized certain programs in terms of accessibility. I've laid off some programs. And I'm doing that because I don't know what the future holds unless I start moving pieces. And some of you are staying stuck because you're interested, meaning if something does not work on the first try, you throw in the towel versus going to find somebody who is 10 steps ahead of you to help you maneuver through this chaos. All right, number 6, discipline versus distraction. So, for example, if you don't have, let's just say you're working toward investing in something and you don't have a budget in mind, that's a problem. So what I teach our clients to do is you should go into every year, even if you don't know what the investment is. You want to go into every year knowing I want to invest in, I'll give you examples. I want to invest in a marriage retreat every year. We just have to make our schedules work with these kids, right? I want to invest in doing beyond date nights, like a couple's getaway, even if it's once a year, ideally, 2 to 3 times, but at least once a year getaway. Okay. I want to invest in business coaching. Then I need to sit down and not talking to no money person first. I just need to say hey, how much do I want to invest in this program, especially if you already know how much something costs. Okay. Now, of course, you do want to talk to your money person so that you can really look at your finances so that even you could determine maybe when you should join, meaning you got to stack up $2,000 to $3,000 because maybe you want to pay in full versus doing the payment plan because that's going to save you $800. Okay. So you have to create the solution to the problem and not just wait for the budget to fall in your place, right? So ask yourself, do you spend a lot of energy, for example, planning out outfits than planning for your business? Do you spend more energy trying to figure out the right color for a carousel post on Instagram than you do planning out your launch for the next quarter? So what this is misplaced focus. Are you disciplined or are you distracted? And a lot of things that you think actually convert into a ROI for your life, for your business, for your bank account, it's actually a distraction. So I'm going to tell you something personally that I've been doing right now, because I have like 3 different YouTube, logins on my TV and on my phone. Okay. One of them was kind of created because I thought I was going to put some stuff over there for our clients. So that one kind of is just blank. But I specifically have 2 that I use on a daily basis. One is our family one, and my kids have pretty much taken over that. But the algorithm is all jacked up where it shows like so many things I really just don't want to see. But that one is my business. So that is the channel that I'm recording on right now. But in terms of my search engine, all of my subscriptions for me is for things that will help me grow. Those are things like, podcasts, business coaching, things like that. Then and call that like my 9 to 5 YouTube space, right? And then I have a 5 to 9 YouTube space. My 5 to 9 YouTube space is my play space. That is TK's. Like, my kid is instructed not to touch that profile when you want to watch cartoons. Okay. So what I have there is like all of the girlies, doing a week in my life vlog, right? That's like my personal TV. That is my Disney vlogs. That is my clean with me vlogs, decorate for Christmas vlogs. It is all the things that help me stay sane, calm, and just allow me to flow through life. So I'm saying that I have that division so that I can have this discipline to not have distraction. So what I start noticing is when I start allowing myself to go over to that second channel, I lose interest in probably using some time to work on my business because I get in such a flowy state that I just want to plan another vacation. That is a distraction if I should be focused on how I'm about to run a boot camp in a week, right? So I start telling myself I'm only going to watch this channel as a reward. So it don't have to be 9 to 5. It can be I stop working at 1:30 and my hard stop time is at 1:30. I eat my lunch watching that channel, and then I go pick up my son from school at 2:45. Okay. And then I can watch it for the rest of the day if I feel like it. There will be some days that I can watch it all day, but I typically don't. But I create some discipline around how I choose to entertain myself because I know that that can serve as a distraction. Number 7, Parkinson's Law and simplicity sales. So work will expand. This is Parkinson's Law. Work will expand to the time that you give it. So if you say, I'm going to accomplish something in a year, you're going to wait a year to finish it. Shorter timelines equals sharper focus. So think about the last time you told yourself, it's going to take me like 2 weeks to get this done versus a month. And you actually got it done probably in 7 days. So complexity kills momentum, but simplicity scales. So how can you make things simple for yourself, put things in a shorter timeline, maybe break up those goals so that when those smaller goals compound over time, you would have reached the bigger goal by the end of the year anyway. So for example, if I want to lose 40 pounds, right? Instead of me focusing on 40 pounds for the year or 40 pounds to your birthday, I'm going to say, I want to lose in the next 30 days, 7 pounds. And so then you're going to make a meal plan based off the phase that you're in terms of nutrition, wellness, and going to the gym versus trying to make a nutrition plan based off of the 40-pound goal, the snatch waist goal with a 6-pack. Why don't we work on the first pack? Okay. And so complexity kills momentum. So with that said, I just want to reinforce Overflow is about protecting your peace, reducing anxiety, and multiplying your profit. So as we wrap up, if you have never read this book, Buy Back Your Time, because it definitely goes deeper and it hones in on business and all those things. It is one of my top recommendations for entrepreneurs, service providers, but honestly, anyone. So in this season, we focus on helping people design a profitable private practice, first as a solo practitioner, and then moving into the one-to-many model without burnout. So if that's something that you're interested in, depending on when you're listening to this episode, because it does go out on August 25th, I want you to make sure that you're signed up for the 5-day virtual retreat. This is a version of our boot camp, but we're doing it retreat style, AKA we're doing it on Zoom. We are going out this year with a bang because we have a lot of great announcements that we're going to make at the end of this particular retreat. So you do not want to miss it, especially if you've been around, especially if you want help with growing your private practice business and it evolving into something else. So make sure that you check the show notes or the description box based on when you're listening to this, where you're listening to this podcast episode. But sign up because registration is going to shut down soon. It's only for 5 days. Replays will only be available for a certain amount of time. But what I will say is if you show up live, you will be able to ask questions based on what we're talking about that day. We will be doing breakout sessions like mini masterminds on the call. And so if you watch the replay, you will not be privy to those activities in terms of what transpired. And so I would encourage you, sign up, show up. Let's get prepared to grow profitable businesses into 2026. And with that said, again, check out the resources in the show notes. If you're listening on YouTube and the audio podcast, subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the channel, and I will talk to y'all in the next episode. Bye.